guys, welcome to another video on my channel. Today I've got the Mark III RS Focus from Hendy Performance, the HP500 to try. Really excited to give it a go, see how it compares to my Mark II. So yeah, show you around the car and take you for a quick drive, see what it's like. Ford had their work cut out to follow on from the much-loved Mark II Focus RS, particularly given the fact that the Mark III was to be the first Focus RS model launched in North America as part of Ford's One Ford plan. Around 4 years after the discontinuation of the Mark II model, Ford unveiled the Mark III Focus RS at the 2015 Geneva Motor Show. Fun fact, I was actually there and watched Ken Block drive it out on the stage. Due to the One Ford approach and the number of three-door sales in the UK and other markets likely to be low, Ford opted for a slightly more sedate five-door only design compared to the Mark II, which definitely proved controversial with enthusiasts in the UK at the time. However, it still went on to sell very well. The standard Mark III Focus RS uses a 2.3 litre EcoBoost engine as fitted to the EcoBoost version of the Mustang, but developing a slightly higher 350 horsepower and 350 pound-feet of torque in the RS. For the first time in a Focus RS, power was also sent to all four wheels via Ford's new torque vectoring four-wheel drive system. Sending the power to all four wheels allowed for a significant reduction in 0 to 60 time, with the car managing a 4.7 second sprint versus 5.9 seconds in the older front-wheel drive model. Not only this, but the car featured an industry-first drift mode and launch control. Not bad for a Focus, really. Back to the car we're looking at here, and it's fairly obvious that this particular example is far from a standard car. You can probably guess that by the HP500 graphics, which, yes, in this case does indicate the car has 500 horsepower. Hendy Performance in Eastleigh have actually used this car as their development car as a way of showcasing to other customers the kind of work that they're able to carry out should you wish to take your own Focus RS to the next level. The list of modifications on this car is quite extensive, so bear with me while I go through them. In no particular order, this car has an uprated BorgWarner turbo, fully forged internals and a polished and ported head, Piper cams, a Mountune V3 exhaust including sports cat, Mountune intercooler, Mountune cold air induction system, Mountune inlet manifold and hardpipe, Quaiffe limited slip diff. The map this car is running is from Motorsport Development and it's their MSD500 map, of which this car was used to form a part of that development process. The map is actually switchable using the cruise control cancel button between a low boost and a high boost mode. Naturally, I'll be trying the high boost mode during my limited time with the car. The car is also slightly lowered on Eibach springs. All in all, this car has had some 20k plus in modifications according to the guys at Hendy Performance. As you'd expect, being a big Ford RS fan, I was really looking forward to getting behind the wheel of this one. Before we do that, here's a quick look at the interior. It's almost a completely stock Mark III Focus interior. This one even has the standard RS seats rather than the upgraded Recaro Sportster CS buckets you can also get. I must say though, the standard seats are a lot better than I expected, very comfortable and also supportive, hugging you nicely. I can imagine though, if you are of a larger build, they may not be that great, so I'd recommend that you try before you buy. Really, the only giveaway inside that this car has had any work carried out are the carbon pillar trims, which are a nice little touch. So, I've taken you on a tour of this heavily modified Focus RS Mark III, and I've told you all about its modifications. Now it's time for the fun bit. Let's see what it's like on the road. So, having a drive in the Hendy Performance Focus RS Mark III HP500. First thing I noticed getting into this car, again, is just a bit like the Fiesta I drove really, how stiff the clutch is. It's obviously an uprated clutch to deal with all that power, but getting used to them now, I think. It's going to be interesting to see how this compares to my Mark II. So this is actually the first Mark III Focus RS that I've driven. Guess it would have been nice to drive a standard one first to see, but it's a bit of a baptism of fire, I guess. Jumping straight into a 500 horsepower version. Obviously as standard, these cars come with 350 horsepower. So pointing out the obvious, of course, compared to my Mark II, this interior is a much more modern place to sit. I've got a nice colour trip computer screen in there with a lot more info in it. I've got Ford Sync 3, it's got Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, all of that good stuff. A nice, more modern, higher resolution touchscreen. This has got heated seats, heated steering wheel. I've got selectable drive modes, of course, that famous drift mode in there as well. So yeah, obviously in this one we've got the standard RS Mark III seats, which, you know, I have the bucket Recaros in mind, the Sportster CS versions, which you can also get in this car. I have to say, these are really comfortable, really supportive still. I've got no issue with them. I guess they don't look quite as nice as the bucket seats. Obviously you can get those bucket seats as an option in this car. Something I'd probably look for buying a Mark III. I have been told, you guys might be able to confirm, I haven't tried them, I have been told that the buckets in the Mark III are for some reason less comfortable than the Mark II. Can anyone confirm if that is or isn't the case? I don't know why, because they look pretty much the same, although I think the Edition one has like extra blue bits on it, but yeah, they're apparently not so comfortable for some reason. Yeah, not sure what that's all about, but they certainly look the part as they do in the Mark II. Probably, even if they are less comfortable, I'd probably have to sacrifice the comfort just to have the better looking seats, to be honest, but that's just me. Maybe if you were dailying this and using it on more longer distance journeys, then maybe it's probably worth having the more comfortable seats. I don't know, personal preference. It's got a really nice throaty noise to it, as you just heard. It's definitely a different sounding car to the Mark II. Obviously this one's had a lot more work to the exhaust. It's running, you know, a full system with sports car and everything, as it needs to get 500 horsepower out of it. But yeah, it's a nice noise. I think it's less, as I'm cruising along in it, and I was on the motorway a little bit earlier, it's definitely less droney, interestingly, than the Fiesta Mark 7 I drove from Hendy. But as soon as you boot it, you get a nice throaty noise, plenty of pops and bangs. A little bit, again, less in your face and probably less mapped in than on the Mark 7 Fiesta, but they're definitely there, pretty, you know, still a pretty frequent occurrence to get those pops and bangs, which is cool. Okay, nice couple of pops and bangs there without even really putting my foot down that much. So the gearbox feels really good, nice positive throw, quite a lot of weight to it. I need to find out, I'm assuming this has some sort of short shifter as well, but yeah, it feels really good. Handling wise, this car feels incredible, to be fair, so far. I think when I've pulled out of a couple of roundabouts and put my foot down, you can sort of feel the four-wheel drive system. It feels very different to the Mark II. So in the Mark II, although it handles the torque steer very well, being front-wheel drive, it obviously, you know, four-wheel drive is a whole other level. And it just feels like it kind of pulls you out of the bends and pulls you out of those roundabouts, even when you're putting your foot down there. Does it feel quite special? This one feels obviously different to standard, so that's probably changing the way I look at it somewhat. So that I think this one feels quite special with what it's had done to it. I think this does feel like quite an experience driving this, a bit more of an event, like I said in the Mark II. And it's difficult for me to say without driving the standard one. However, I think I'm still glad I put my money into the Mark II, for me personally, as a weekend car. I think it has more of that kind of modern classic vibe going for it. It's obviously, you know, it's a bit older as well now, of course. And then, you know, there's that engine. I kind of wish they could have had a 5-pot version of this with the four-wheel drive. That would have been interesting. The styling, of course, is a little bit more, I would say, sedated on this one, obviously ignoring the bright livery this one's got on it, on this particular example, but as standard, although I love that nitrous blue paint, it's, I always thought, until I saw one in person, I actually thought it was a flat colour, but it's actually got a really nice fleck to it in the sunlight, and I know it's probably the most common Mark III colour, but it's it's common for a reason. It's because it's a really nice colour. So I think if I had a Mark III, it'd probably have to be this Nitrous blue. Yeah, there's definitely some turbo lag in this car, as you would expect with something that's got quite a lot of power like that. I'll see if I can get somewhere where I can give it some beats in a minute and kind of show you what I mean. But yeah, sort of south of 3,000 RPM, if you put your foot down, nothing really happens. And now I'm in fourth. I think starting to pick up, but I'm not really on a road where I can really demonstrate it at the moment. This thing's really urgent, it just wants to go. It definitely feels, I want to say, a bit more lively than my RS. You'd expect that with 500 horsepower though, right? Oh, this thing's quick. You've really got to watch your speed. Steering feels really direct. The brakes feel sharp, even though they're just standard items on this. I think after my short time with this, I'd probably still take my Mark II as a weekend car, but I have really enjoyed this, I'm not going to lie. I think if I had the money, I'd definitely have one of these in the collection too. I could be tempted to daily one of these, that's for sure. I feel like this is probably, certainly in this 550 horsepower guys, but probably, you know, even standard or lightly tuned, these are going to be a faster point-to-point car. The handling on these is fantastic. Oh yeah, listen to that. I think this has got kind of just the right amount of pops and bangs actually. That Fiesta was maybe a little bit over the top, a bit mapped in. This sounds a little bit more natural when you're gunning it. It's just there. It's kind of there when you want it, and not really when you don't, if that makes sense. Yeah, loving how this thing drives. It's going to be a little bit of a shame to give this back, I'm not going to lie. Thankfully I've still got my Mark II to get back into that kind of softens the blow a little bit. So there you have it guys, I've taken you on a quick tour of this 500 horsepower road legal weapon that Hendy Performance have created, and I've taken you for a drive to show you what it's like on the road. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with this car. It really has been an absolute blast to drive, from that incredible four-wheel drive handling experience to the old school turbo lag, followed by that massive kick in the back as it comes alive after 4,000 RPM. I also really rate the Mountune V3 Exhaust system fitted to this car. It's honestly a really good balance in terms of volume and drama when you boot it, whilst being surprisingly sedate and mostly drone free whilst cruising. Not really sure how they've managed it, but I'm really impressed. So would I have one over my Mark II? Well, I think you know what I'm going to say here, in that I love my Mark II, so probably not. However, I definitely have something like this in the collection, money no object. It's a fantastic car, no doubt. Funnily enough, if this is your sort of car, Hendy Performance actually have it for sale at the time of filming. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. Thanks again for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please do remember to like, comment and subscribe, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you soon with the next video.